What's up guys, and welcome back. Today in this video we're going to be discussing episode 3 of Channel Zero Season 3 Butcher's Block, titled All You Ghost Mice. So we've officially reached the halfway point in this season, the 6 episodes, and this is episode 3, so we're probably going to start seeing all of the story come together and shit go down from now on. But today we're going to be talking about this episode. First up, the episode starts directly after the end of the last episode where they are at the table with all the body parts, and we just see all these awesome grotesque shots of like maggots dripping in blood and just crawling over body parts. And just standing out to me as being the best part of this season is just the imagery. I just love how gross and horrible it is. But yeah, that was a great start to the episode, just seeing all these maggots just dripping around in blood. The standout of an opening to an episode is seeing Smartmouth. I think I'm going to call the dwarf guy Smartmouth from now on, just because it's more easier to say. So Smartmouth was just sat on the swing set where the table was on his own, just having fun and swinging on them, and that was quite a joy to watch. Next up we have possibly one of the creepiest scenes so far. Zoe's in the bathtub and Joseph just appears and just sits there and watches her, and it's just very strange how he could think that was acceptable. Yeah, so she starts to get a need for flesh. She talks about how she needs to feed and stuff, and I saw it coming a mile off when she started nibbling at her foot, and then we find out that she kind of eats her own flesh, and the way they showed it was awesome. Like, she cuts into her leg and the camera pans up and you can just see like the milky water, and you're just waiting for the blood to roll up, and sure enough it does. The way she eats her own flesh is probably one of the most like gory and horrible depictions I've seen of someone eat their own flesh. I actually felt a bit sick watching it, and it's definitely an addiction because you can see just as she eats it and as she digests it, she just feels the urge to eat go away. So you can tell it's something like a cannibal zombie type situation. So we see the cop, which is named Luke. I finally figured out some of the names of the people in the show. Luke the cop has been investigating into Joseph and Robert after what happened with the police letting them go, and I'm actually starting to grow on this character because originally he was a bit of a dick and we didn't really get to see much of him, and he showed him to be a bit of like a mouse, as Robert said, but I'm kind of liking him now. He's kind of grown on me as a character. So Alice's boss character reappears in the show, and they kind of change his dynamic of the character in this one. Louise, the landlady, starts like suggesting that he might have like sexual feelings towards her, which we don't know is true. They kind of make it out like he does fancy, and that's why he's got her the job and stuff like that. From that point on, you know, if they're depicting him as like a creep or like a pervert, he's probably going to go out in a bad way, and he's probably not going to survive just because of the way they're depicting him, and I guess we'll talk about that later in the episode. So Luke is continuing his investigation, and he goes to see his dad in a diner, and his dad's eating all this food, and they have all these close-up shots of people eating the food, and there's kind of like a few dodgy looking people in this restaurant, so you've got to guess that maybe this might be part of the cannibalism. Maybe the whole town is sort of in knowledge of it. Maybe they've been eating all these dead bodies for years because they're all part of this cult or ritual or whatever's going on in Joseph's basement. And Luke asks for the transfer papers for the police, and he kind of shuts him down. So he's going against his own father now at this point because he knows that something's wrong with the whole situation, and he's got to find out the answers for himself. So from this point on, Luke is his own man, I guess. Now this is where the episode starts to turn it up a notch, and from this point onwards the episode gets seriously fucked up and messed up, and this is probably the best one so far in my opinion, as far as like horror and like just psychological body horror and stuff like that occurs. Like, I was getting some major Halloween 2 vibes from this, just because the hospital was so quiet and empty. You'd never see a hospital that empty. I know it was night, but in most like hospitals, there's always like people in a waiting room who are like covered in blood and stuff like that. And this is just like literally them 4 in the hospital, no sight of any nurses. And I'm willing to take that for creative liberties because it created for a very atmospheric and like awesome scene. Now, whereas this show is more like a horror, this episode was actually really funny. I laughed out loud on more than one occasion, and this one took me off guard. So we see all these shots of the hospital looking all quiet and silent, and then Robert shows up, and obviously he wants to get Alice and Zoe, and he's strolling through the corridor, and he just starts like tap dancing, and this just took me completely off guard, and I was in one mind thinking, what the fuck is happening here? Like, this isn't scary, but at the same time it was really funny, and his character is just so bizarre you can't quite put your finger around it. This scene is also a mix with Joseph playing the piano with Smartmouth. I'm not sure what song they were playing, if it was the song that he was dancing to. Maybe they're kind of interlinked, like in their minds. Maybe he can hear what they're actually playing, or maybe it was just for like artsy. Another thing that struck me in this episode is the way that the characters talk to each other. So Luke, Louise and the creepy boss guy are all in the hospital and they're talking about what they've seen, and the way Luke just comes out of it saying, oh, I saw a man with this midget guy walking up a staircase and he was eating another man. He just laid out these points as in like bullet point form, and it was just so weird to see, because usually in TV shows they kind of dramatize the way they reveal things to other people, and I just thought it was really cool how they just like said these things straight out, like, yeah, he was a guy, he was just eating someone, then he was on a staircase. It was just, I thought it was quite funny. Like I said, with the way they were portraying the boss guy, you can see him like lingering behind them in the corridor as Louise and Luke are walking, and I can just tell this guy's going to die, or he's going to get attacked or something, especially with Robert being in the hospital as well. And we do get a bit of a clarification about what was actually happening in Joseph's basement. They say that he's sacrificing children down there. So this is like a folklore story that's been passed around Bush's block. Could be the truth, could be an extension of what actually was going on down there, so we don't know. Maybe Joseph was painted in a different light than he actually was back then. And this is another standout hilarious scene where they decide to go up and find Zoe and Alice. As they're about to leave like the dining hall of the hospital, Joseph just like dances into frame of the doorway, and they all just kind of look at each other, and the boss guy's like, do you even know this guy? And he just dances off into the other side of the doorway, and actually made me laugh like so much. It was so random. Now this is where the episode kind of got like Japanese horror, like Grudge the Ring. Alice goes to talk to Zoe about what happened with Joseph and the whole cure thing, because the same thing happened to her. And as they're talking, the weird brain part from the last episode of Alice shows up in the background, and it looks creepier than ever. It's like got a swollen face, and it looks like he's wearing some weird ninja suit, and it just creeps up behind her. And I thought that was a really creepy shot. Every other shot of the creepy head woman for the rest of the episode I didn't find scary at all, which is a shame, because in the one scene she did look really scary. After that it kind of looked kind of stupid, so I wasn't really scared by it, but it was still, I guess, creepy in the way it was spider walking like The Exorcist. And as Alice is talking to Zoe, she goes out into the corridor because she hears some noises, and this was probably the most disturbing part of the episode and the whole season actually. So someone walks out of the doorway of this room in the opposite room to where Zoe is, and it's her mother. It's obviously a vision or something because she's in a mental home somewhere else, but she's just stabbing herself in the stomach, and the way they've made the sound while she's doing it, and like the viciousness of her stabbing herself, like that kind of shit really like make me feel like sick. Not sick, but like that's the sort of thing that I find horrible to watch, when people are just like stabbing themselves, and that was probably one of the most brutal things, like stabbings I've seen, and you just see all the blood dripping down onto her feet, and like, it was a really cool shot. It was just very brutal, and I really liked it at the same time, but it was very brutal. And yes, we finally get to see the demise of the boss guy. All the electricity goes out in the hospital, except for like some of the doors and most of the lights. It just seems to be occurring in one part of the hospital. Luke and Louise end up on one side of the door, and Boss Boy gets caught up on the other side of the door, and Robert just comes and slits his throat. I was expecting a bit more of a brutal death for him, or at least being killed on screen, but what followed his death was actually quite savage as well. Robert lets himself be handcuffed again when Luke finally comes around and aims a gun at him, and I was just thinking, why does this guy want to be arrested? Is it because he knows he's just going to keep getting out every time? But I'm not quite sure. So this scene actually gave me Halloween 2 vibes as well, when the boss guy was on the floor, and then so was Joseph handcuffed next to him, and it gave me like vibes of Halloween 2 towards the end, where the cop gets his throat slit as well. And Louise suggests that they take the guy to be interrogated, and that's probably a good idea, they should do, but Luke, being the mouse he is, wants to take him into the police station. One last point to make on that scene was he likes to kill people and eat them. So Robert's main purpose, because he keeps talking about calories and protein, he wants to eat them, and this dead body on the floor is just dripping out blood, and just before we cut away you can see the blood pooling across the floor, and Robert just like sucks it up like a milkshake, and I thought that was really awesome. That's what I was waiting to see, is like soon as he was like down on the floor watching the body, and he went through with it, so I loved that. Zoe gets coerced into going with Edie Peach, which is Robert's wife, with a big like steak meal, probably made of humans. I don't deny her for eating it, probably was quite tasty if you were a cannibal. And yeah, he basically tells her that she should join the family because she hasn't really got much else, and for the most part I can't disagree with her. She's pretty messed up, and her mum tried to kill her, and her sister's kind of like denying her, so why not? If she can get all the meat she wants, I can see why she would go. Now this is probably one of the most disturbing scenes as well, which I actually found funny. It's creepy and funny at the same time, don't get me wrong. A lot of people who have seen the scene have said it was creepy straight up, but Alice hears voices she thinks is Zoe. She follows him into the room and there's just this weird ass party going down between Smart Mouth and the other kids or whatever they are. One of them's dressed in like a doctor's outfit with a fake stethoscope, and they're all doing all this dancing, and they're just like so disfigured and horrible. She just stands there in awe looking. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I just burst out laughing just because of the way they were dancing. I can imagine like putting that clip with some like trance music or like dance music would be hilarious. I might actually try and do that myself just to see how that scene plays out. I'm not sure if it was Zoe's voice or if it was just the Smart Mouth talking, but he just said "help me, Alice" in like the weirdest like way possible, and that made me laugh too, especially with his little teeth. His teeth are like little shark's teeth. So this guy's incredibly vicious. I want to see him kill someone with his teeth. Luke is taking Robert to the police station, it seems, and he's just pissing him off in the back so much, and he's just saying how he doesn't care what anyone's called, who's dead, who he's going to kill, because it's all the protein to him. And it's like the final straw when he talks about the death of the little girl and the mother, and Luke shoots him. Now this is something I didn't think was going to happen, and I'm not sure if Luke would actually do that, if this was like a logical move. He's in the back of a police car, but something tells me Robert isn't dead. I kind of hope he's not dead because he's one of the best characters in it. Let me know what your thoughts are with Robert. Do you think he's going to survive, or do you think he's going to be dead for the rest of the season? I have a feeling he's going to come back. Maybe if they eat meat or do something with the ritual, he can come back. And then the episode ends with Zoe following Zoe up the staircase into the room, and she goes in and closes the door behind her. So I'm hoping next episode is a straight up just clusterfuck of psychological and bizarrety. I don't think that's a real word, but I just made it up. I just want to see all this batshit crazy stuff inside of that room. Hopefully we get to see like the meat factory or what's inside Joseph's basement and more of the monster. I want to see some Silent Hill stuff, so I really can't wait to see what happens in the next episode. I don't watch the previews, so I literally have no clue what happens in the next episodes until I watch them. Overall, it was another great episode. So far, I think this season has been the most consistent in with how good it's been, because in the last couple of seasons it kind of trailed off towards the mid-section of the show into something completely different, and this one seems to be sticking to a straightforward plot as far as like the actions of the characters and where it's going. So I'm really enjoying this season. Let me know your thoughts on it. If you haven't checked out this, considering this is going to be the end of the video, you probably shouldn't have watched this if you haven't, but just check out Channel Zero. It's so good. This season's definitely the best one so far in my opinion. Let me know your thoughts and theories about what's going to happen in the next few episodes of the season. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next week with episode 4.